Greetings, one and all. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Today's talk focuses on two areas. Number one, the new e-Cascadia by Freightliner Daimler-Benz. And number two is we're in a critical time right now relative to the Tesla stock. So what's happening is that there's a short squeeze that's going on right now. And this gives an opportunity for a lot of us to make some money on the Tesla stock. Usually I extend the number, but I want to get kind of complex when it comes to the stock analysis, so I'm going to refrain. I also wanted to note to you that I'm trying to run some video here of the, so Daimler has an electric truck project, and I'm running video of it behind me. But you guys could easily look it up and see this truck in action as well. This is not the truck I'm talking about that you'll see in a thumbnail, but what Daimler is doing all their development in Germany, and then they're spreading the work they're doing on electric vehicles to all of their vehicles around the world. So Freightliner gets the same stuff that, Freightliner is one of many brands owned by Daimler. It's a brand that's in the United States. Fuso, which Mitsubishi is more in the Asia. And then there's a number of brands like Scandia that Daimler-Benz has in Europe. All of them are working off of the same technology. So hence, I chose the video behind me that you'll see of truck in motion for that reason. I wanted to note to you guys that the fascinating thing that's happening right now is the new truck is supposedly a semi-truck with about 200 miles of range. This is excellent. It really shows that Daimler is making an effort. Other details are they plan on having, by the end of the year, 30 of these vehicles in the hand of customers so they can start trying it out. I think it's good news because they're showing that they're doing more than allowing Tesla to win this entire game. I have to take a quick break to note to you guys, please make sure you like and subscribe. The like is significant because it affects the ranking that we enjoy and whether or not we're able to be seen on any and all channels. The second issue is that we do have Patreon, so I appreciate it if you guys would consider supporting us with $1 or $2 on a monthly basis. And then the third thing to note is that we do put a couple of ads in. So by watching 5 to 7 seconds of an ad, it definitely helps our channel actually work and grow. So getting back to our discussion of the Daimler truck, and just to note that it's great to see that Daimler is taking this seriously. The head of trucking has articulated the fact that they're the dominant player in trucks around the world, and they intend to protect their market share by delivering products that customers want to see. 200 miles is not a huge amount of miles for a truck or for a semi, but it's way better than 100 miles. And as you have cold weather and other things, that 50% cut in the usable range of the vehicle could really help it be more effective for customers to have some range that they can have. It's not Tesla's 300 or 500 or 600 miles that Tesla is now claiming, so it's not ideal, but I definitely think there is some effort to trying. I have to admit that I'm a little confused by Daimler-Benz because these guys have unlimited cash to respond to any threat, including that of Tesla's. They have not enjoyed much success in responding on batteries, even though they're working hard at that. They recently acquired an Israeli company that has some really unique solid-state battery material, and I want to give them kudos on having done so. What I'm concerned about or find strange is that we did a show about some of the efforts made by Walmart in their truck, and there are many, I wanted to notice that there's got a little distracted by a note there from one of our friends I'll be responding to at the end. I wanted to note that there's a interesting phenomenon, which is that it actually takes, Jacques, I agree, 200 miles isn't bad, but it shows they are trying. What I found strange is that I can actually get another 10% increase in range on that Daimler truck right now by putting the driver in the middle and reshaping the front of the vehicle. And what I find strange is that this is a fairly common situation that's been known for the last 5 years, but Daimler has chosen not to make this change. So I'm kind of surprised because Tesla's doing everything from changes in the hubcaps that are used to increase range, to the shape of the nose of the truck, as well as side skirts to allow the truck to pick up 5, 10, 20 miles here or there. And all of that could add up into a lot of range that's enhanced. In fact, the thing that's going on right now is if you look at the Daimler trucks, the wind resistance is something they don't seem to be focused on the front of the truck. To be honest with you, there's a little bit of a risk with the Tesla truck to not have any kind of a metal grill on the front, because I'm told that people who make runs that are longer in trucks in that 200-300 mile range can end up with deer and other animals that they hit. And so you can end up damaging the nose of the truck if there's nothing there to meet those large threats. But nonetheless, I think it's good that Daimler's doing something. I'm just surprised that I'm not seeing them make some effort to do things that reflect aerodynamics consistent with what Tesla's up to, and 200 miles is better. They also don't seem to be, it is good that they're going to put 300 of them or 30 of them on the road in customer hands. So on one hand, it kind of feels like they're serious. On the other hand, this whole design thing of just rip out the current engine in there and put it in new, an electric, doesn't make any sense. By the way, if you look at the Tesla Mule, you'll notice that the Mule or Tesla test truck that was used was a Cascadia shell that's housing the test vehicle before Tesla built its first truck. I wanted to thank you once again for my non-looking at the camera properly. That is an issue, and I appreciate that. So the primary meat of what I wanted to get into today is just the fact that we're in an interesting period right now for Tesla. As you know, there's news that just came out, and what the news is that Tesla's at 3,500 units, and they're headed to 5,000 units soon. So this is good news. The impact on the stock is basically a 10% rise in the stock price. The reason I wanted to make this show today specifically is something interesting is about to happen, and that is that on no news at all, Tesla's stock price is going to continue rising. I was thinking about, I guess I will go for it. I wanted to keep some more footage rolling in the background for you guys on Daimler vehicles, and this gives me an opportunity to do that. So I wanted to note that what's going to happen with a Tesla stock is I think it could actually rise another 10 to 20% or 30 points over the next week. And here's a simple thing why, and you'll notice this with a lot of stocks, including Tesla. What happens is that there's hot money or hedge funds. So as soon as an announcement is made by Tesla or others, or any company, you'll notice that there'll be an up or down movement in the stock of that company. In this case, we're talking about Tesla. Well, something very interesting has occurred with Tesla. A short squeeze seems to be on, where the more the stock price rises, the more people who are bidding against the stock are actually losing money. The next thing that's going on right now is what I call research reports and then response to those research reports. So what basically happens is that Tesla makes an announcement. The hot money guys respond to that in terms of what the stock does. The large firms will then write research reports about what Tesla has actually said and what the implications are. And then those reports are actually read by money managers that work for big firms around the world. They will read that report, have a meeting about what's going on and decide if they're going to buy or sell the stock. So what this means then is for a stock like Tesla, all of a sudden you can see an upward trajectory on the stock price that's driven by the fact that they've had a chance to digest what the new news is, and now those firms can begin buying. So I deliberately wanted to make this show today because I wanted you guys to be able to get in on the profitable numbers that might come out of the fact that, Tesla just made a big announcement. The big firms or large pension funds and others really can't afford to move as fast as hedge funds can. And part of the reason is that what I call certifiable deniability. So the fact of the matter is that there are large money managers that if they make a move without a report to justify that move, and it involves a lot of dollars, they particularly lose their jobs and potentially lose their firm's money. But if they wait until the research report comes out and then they have a meeting and then they start buying the stock afterwards, if anything goes bad, it's not really their fault because they were relying on these analyst reports that had come out. So I want you guys to be aware of how this process works, because on a regular basis, when Tesla numbers or big news comes out, you'll start seeing movement of the stock price. And this will allow you to somewhat anticipate what's going to be occurring. And I really think we're in a critical part of that zone right now. So my assessment, so the other thing that I found interesting about this is be aware of tranches of investors. So one of the questions that had come up is if you look at a bunch of research reports, there are several analysts in the last few weeks that said even at 5,000 units a week, that's not a huge number, and Tesla still has challenges that might require them to raise capital. What I found interesting about this is that for people who are worried about what Tesla is going to do in the next 60 to 90 days, this is a big deal and might affect whether or not they choose to buy or sell the stock. The thing about it, though, is an example would be there's a $1 trillion fund called the Norway Sovereign Wealth Fund, and that fund was built up based on oil revenues by Norway, and all that money is being used to reinvest in the country. So as we all know, Norway is one of the largest penetrations of Tesla vehicles anywhere in the world, and as a result, Tesla is making a great deal of money there. By that fund purchasing, I believe, $200 million worth of Tesla stock and owning it, you now have a really interesting situation where the country that you're selling a bunch of cars in also owns a bunch of stock, and they're making money as that stock price rises. So I think it's a nice symbiotic relationship, but it shows one of the large, well-heeled entities that are keeping an eye on Tesla stock and making decisions about how and what they're going to do. But their target is in that 3 to 5 year zone. So 5,000 units a month or a week by the end of June is kind of bad news for a hedge fund, because that doesn't send the stock to 400 in 1 or 2 weeks. But when you're doing 5,000 units or 3,500 headed to 5,000 units, those kind of numbers are the exact numbers that tell people that are long-term investors that they've selected a company that has good long-term health. So I believe right now that we're in a really good spot for Tesla relative to long-term holders. So my thing is, if the market doesn't tank because of something Mr. Trump does with the G7 or something of that ilk, I believe we're going to see a very nice push up in the stock price. And if this stock price push up is rapid enough, it could actually result in a breakout serious short squeeze. As has been written by everybody else, there's been $1 billion lost shorting Tesla stock in the last, let's say, 48, 72 hours. I believe those losses could actually go significantly higher as the process I just described starts to roll out. So if you're going to be a Tesla investor, I think it's a good time to really keep your eyes open and see if you want to try to get in there with some stock or options, because the bottom line is that as the production issues are worked out, you're going to have a situation rolling in where there's an opportunity to make a great deal of money, driven by the fact that they're starting to produce solid numbers coming in on the Model 3s. And, as you've also seen, I kept having queasy stomach regarding Tesla selling a $35,000 car because the margins would be rather thin. But as we all know, they're pushing forward with selling even the high performance version at $78,000. Gives them a nice 20 to 25,000 per car profit, and those profits can be rolled back into setting the company up for long-term success. The final thing that I noticed that one of the naysayers was talking about was that, the fact that there's a delay in the $35,000 car might impact the relationship of Tesla with customers who are looking for that vehicle. I have to say that I really don't see that being a huge issue because most of the people involved with purchasing this vehicle also want to see Tesla do well. And I think that the delay is to be expected. And in fact, I don't think it's a big deal because for people who are really hyper and want to get into the car now, there are a lot of used Model S's, et cetera, that are out there that you can get into at a better price, perhaps closer to that 35K zone. So, basically today's focus was to welcome the new Cascadia to the world from Daimler or Freightliner Daimler-Benz, and also to sort of take a look at the fact that you really want to take time right now to understand what's happening with the stock, because I think we're 2 or 3 days away from the committees that have met saying everything's looking good, let's start buying the stock. And this is, I believe, going to create some fireworks. Greetings from Switzerland. Swalele, good to see you. Jerry, thanks for taking time out once again. Nice to see all of you on here. I have to admit my concentration was on making sure I didn't forget any of my script, and I didn't actually see all the questions posed. But in general, I just think, we're in a great situation for Tesla, and it's a good opportunity for those who are Tesla fans to take time out to make some money off the stock. Are there risks on the horizon? I'd say, yeah. I would also like to request, if you're a serious fan of Tesla, if your car needs a repair, or some greetings from London, hey Jacques up in Canada. If your car needs repair, please don't have Tesla pick it up. Take it into the shop. Those guys don't have a clue about time value of money, so they will pick it up for you. But we want them to succeed, so that means we want you to drive the car to and from, and it costs you a little bit of a headache to do so, but I think you help the company in the process. The other thing to note is we're really in a beta test mode on those Model 3s, so as you identify issues, make sure you report those to Tesla so that they can be repaired on subsequent vehicles that are being produced. Again, this is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Thanks once again for taking time to join us. If this is your first time on our channel, please like and subscribe. Your like is a huge deal. If you're a repeat visitor, hey, I agree, the China expansion is brilliant. The only worry on China is I hope they don't give all this information about the batteries out and it gets stolen. So that's my only concern there. Please leave any questions, suggestions, thoughts in the bottom. And we also are trolling around for things that you guys want to know more about, to do research on. Happy to do more information on that. And by the way, there is no worry of Tesla being wiped out when against the electric trucks or cars, because the market is so big and there's so few batteries that there's plenty of market share for everybody to share and to do well. So at any rate, thanks once again for joining us. Tschüss, macht's gut, German, au revoir, French, lehitraot, Hebrew, Choda Hafez, Farsi, farvel, I believe Dutch, but you guys are going to correct me on that, I'm sure. And in Jamaica, from my friend in Sweden, enough respect, walk good, is kind of a patois phrase for goodbye. Thanks again for joining us and have a great day, and I look forward to answering all of your comments.